You complain about a parking ticket? This was a Tuesday in the Middle Ages. Welcome back. Take a seat. Or better, stay standing. Where we're going today, sitting might be the worst part. The Middle Ages didn't have a cell for everyone. No judges on every corner. No cameras. What it had was something far more effective. The square. The square didn't hide the guilty. It displayed them. And in a village where everyone knew everyone, the display was the punishment. 5 punishments, each stranger than the last. And by the end, one uncomfortable question: what exactly changed? There was no police force, no public prosecutor. Across much of medieval Europe, there was the priest, the local lord, and the crowd. Justice wasn't a process. It was an event, scheduled in advance, anticipated by the whole village, carried out in public. Nobody sat in jail for months awaiting trial. That was too expensive, and cells cost money. The punishment happened in one afternoon, in front of everyone you knew. Neighbors, the baker, the woman who sold eggs. And that was exactly the point. The pain faded, the shame didn't. First, the stocks and pillory, a wooden post, 2 rings for the hands, sometimes a hole for the head. A baker selling underweight bread? Stocks. Too drunk on a Tuesday? Stocks. Selling watered-down wine? Stocks. And the wine was poured over your head first. You stood there, motionless, for hours, while the whole village decided what to do with rotten eggs and spoiled vegetables. It didn't hurt the body, or at least, that wasn't the point. What it hurt was the reputation. And in a village of 300 people, reputation was the only currency you truly had. Losing your honor at the pillory meant losing credit at the market, losing invitations, losing marriages. It was a social bankruptcy with no recovery court. Second, the scold's bridle, an iron mask that covered the entire head. Inside, a metal plate pinned the tongue against the roof of the mouth. Impossible to speak. Impossible to scream. Sometimes the plate had spikes, used almost exclusively, and that's not a coincidence, on women accused of talking too much. Talking too much about what? Nobody asked too carefully. The husband could request it. The priest could authorize it. The woman was then paraded through the village wearing the bridle, so everyone could see. The mask didn't silence a person. It silenced an example. Third, the ducking stool. Simple mechanism, not so simple outcome. A fixed post on the riverbank. Attached to the post, a wooden beam that pivoted like a seesaw. At the end of the beam, a chair. In the chair, you. The operator pushed the beam down. You went underwater. He counted. 5, 10, 15 seconds. That depended on his mood, not any law. You came back up, coughed, and went down again. The number of dunkings wasn't standardized. It depended on the town, the local judge, the severity of the crime. Dishonest merchants received dunkings. Women accused of being quarrelsome received more. The last known use of this punishment in England was in 1809 on Jenny Pipes of Leominster, 1809. Beethoven had already composed 5 symphonies. The French Revolution was already over. And in England, a woman could still be dunked in a river by order of a local judge. We're not talking about a past as distant as we'd like to believe. Fourth, trial by ordeal, also called the judgment of God. And here, medieval logic reaches its strangest point, and its most fascinating. The accused was brought to the church. In the presence of a priest, they carried a red-hot iron bar 3 steps, or plunged their hand into boiling water and retrieved a stone from the bottom. The wound was then bandaged, sealed, and the accused went home. 3 days later, the priest removed the bandage. If the wound was healing clean, no pus, no infection, God had declared innocence. If it was infected, God had confirmed guilt. To us, that's absurd. But to the medieval mind, it was the fairest method available. A human judge could be bribed. A witness could lie. But God didn't make mistakes. God didn't accept gold. The ordeal was, in their logic, incorruptible. The question nobody asked out loud: who exactly decided whether the wound was clean enough? The priest. The same priest who lived in the same village, who knew the same families, who had the same alliances. The church banned the ordeal at the Fourth Council of the Lateran in 1215, not because the practice was unjust, because it required too many clergymen willing to risk the credibility of their own divine verdict. Fifth, the hand. Theft was taken seriously in the Middle Ages, too seriously. Under several European legal codes, from Anglo-Saxon England to the Holy Roman Empire, the progression was clear. First offense, a fine or a branding on the thumb. Second offense, the hand. And under some codes, the third offense was the gallows. The branding was permanent, a letter burned into the skin. F for felon in England, for example, visible forever, impossible to hide in a handshake. And if the hand was taken, the message was even clearer. It wasn't only punishment, it was communication, a walking message for every person who crossed your path for the rest of your life. Before databases, before criminal records, before police files, your own body was the archive. Nobody needed to look anything up, they just had to look at you. And here's the irony. History doesn't teach in the classroom. In the very same village where a woman was dunked in a river for talking too much about a nobleman's behavior, the nobleman himself rarely saw the stalks. Medieval justice wasn't blind. It saw very clearly who owned land and who didn't. The pillory was for the baker. The bridle was for the wife. The stool was for the merchant woman. The ordeal was for whoever couldn't afford a lawyer or a sympathetic priest. Punishment didn't always chase the crime. It chased whoever told the story.